Before the first ball is bowled and the crowd comes alive, it all begins with a small red sphere that can decide the fate of a match. Today we're in Meerut, the heart of India's sports gear industry, to see how cricket ball is made from scratch. It all begins with the leather. Not just any leather, but thick, high-quality cowhide that can take a beating. Workers inspect each piece by hand, feeling for strength, flexibility, and grain. The goal is a tough yet supple surface that will withstand hours of play on dry turf, grass, and even concrete. Once the hides are selected, they are soaked and then dyed in a rich red solution. This is done the old-fashioned way. A worker places the leather into a wide tub of dye and uses their feet to knead it like dough, making sure every inch is evenly coated. It is physical work, and the red stain clings to skin and floor alike. After dyeing, the leather sheets are hung to dry for up to 48 hours. Air drying helps maintain the leather's strength. The dried red leather is brought to a cutting table where metal dies, shaped like circular petals, are used to punch out the exact pieces required to form the outer shell of the cricket ball. Each ball needs 4 leather pieces, 2 for each hemisphere. The cut pieces are then softened slightly and pressed into curved molds. Workers press them by hand or foot into semi-spherical shapes, which will eventually become the familiar curved surface of the cricket ball. Inside each half, smaller strips of leather are glued to reinforce the shape and help maintain rigidity. Excess leather around the edges is trimmed clean with sharp blades. This is done manually, and it takes a steady hand. The 2 halves are now ready for the core. Inside every cricket ball lies a secret, a cork and rubber core that gives the ball its bounce, weight, and balance. The core begins with a small cork ball, often wrapped in tightly wound layers of rubber and string. This cork core is tested for density and rebound. Too light and it will not travel far. Too heavy and it will be illegal under ICC regulations. Once the core is verified, it is placed between 2 leather hemispheres. At this point, the ball is weighed. For men's cricket, the ball must weigh between 155.9 and 163 grams. For women's cricket, the range is 140 to 151 grams. Each core and leather shell is matched to make sure the final product will fall within those strict limits. This is the most labor-intensive part of the entire process and where the skill of the craftsman truly shines. Using waxed linen thread and heavy-duty curved needles, the 2 leather hemispheres are stitched around the cork core. Each cricket ball is stitched with between 72 and 80 stitches, most of them along the seam that defines the equator of the ball. This seam is not just decorative, it plays a critical role in how the ball behaves in the air, especially for fast bowlers who rely on seam and swing movement. Stitching takes precision and time. A single skilled worker can take up to 45 minutes to stitch one ball. Each pass of the needle is deliberate. One wrong move, one uneven stitch, and the ball may not fly true. Once stitched, the ball is placed inside a pressing machine that looks like 2 hemispherical jaws. The machine closes slowly, pressing the ball into a perfect sphere. This ensures the ball is symmetrical, balanced, and tight. The pressing process also compresses the stitching into the leather, helping the seam to set. In professional cricket, the seam is often left slightly raised as it aids bowlers in gripping and spinning the ball. Now comes the final surface treatment. Balls are polished by hand using a mixture of grease, synthetic polish, and natural waxes. This step gives the ball its final shine and helps seal the leather against moisture. Workers rub each ball vigorously, rotating it against a cloth or buffer until it gleams. The polish not only enhances appearance, but also affects how the ball will age during play. One side of the ball may get shinier than the other over time, and that difference is exactly what allows reverse swing. After polishing, each ball is stamped. The manufacturer's logo, ball grade, and certification marks are printed directly onto the surface using a heated metal stamp. This brand must not interfere with the ball's performance. At this stage, color choice also comes into play. Red balls are standard for test matches, white balls are used in limited overs cricket, and pink balls, relatively new to the game, are designed for day-night tests to improve visibility under lights. The materials are the same, but the dyes and polish differ slightly. Before any ball leaves the factory, it undergoes a final inspection. Trained eyes check for roundness, weight, seam height, polish uniformity, and core balance. Test-grade balls must pass the highest level of scrutiny. They are batch tested for swing in controlled environments and checked to ensure they will last for at least 80 overs without losing shape or shine. Once approved, the balls are sorted by grade and packed into boxes. They are shipped to sports retailers, training academies, and cricket boards all over the world. Some balls are used in international matches, others in domestic leagues or school grounds, but all of them carry the same attention to detail. Fun fact: the city of Meerut, where the factory is located, is home to over 3,000 small and mid-sized sports manufacturing units. Cricket bats, balls, pads, gloves, and even international team gear often originate from this one bustling hub. Workers here have been crafting cricket gear for decades, and some families have passed down the skills for generations. A worker named Tony, for instance, has been hand-stitching cricket balls for 15 years. He says he can tell how a ball will behave just by feeling its weight and seam. For him, and many others in the region, this work is more than just a job. It is a quiet contribution to the spirit of the sport. So next time you watch a bowler kiss the seam before his run-up, or a fielder toss the ball back to the keeper after a sharp turn off the pitch, remember the journey. From cowhide to core, from dye tubs to hand stitches, every cricket ball has a story of craft and care. And it all begins long before the first over is bowled.